All right, welcome back to the Copywriters podcast with your host, the world's greatest copywriting coach, David Garfinkel. David, how are you doing today?
Good, Nathan. How are you?
I am doing fantastic, and the conspiracy theory spider sense in me is tingling today
Oh
because
boy,
of the
yeah,
surprise
yeah.
that we have for the listeners.
We do. Our guest today has lived the kind of life most of us only see on TV and in movies. He's worked as a specialized contractor in Iraq for the U.S. Department of Defense in PsyOps, which is in a way like the military version of persuasion or direct marketing. Of course, most of what he did is classified, but he'll share some insights that don't compromise sensitive information today. He's also worked at the heartbeat of world media as an editor for CNN, NBC, Sky, CNBC, and MTV. Our guest today is Christian Dixon. And these days, he's pursuing copywriting with a ferocity I only see in the most obsessed practitioners of the craft, which includes me and Nathan. We invited Christian to come on the show to talk about what he learned in his other professions that would be interesting insights for copywriters. And while this is not the most interesting insight, what I'm about to say is nonetheless important. And that is this: copy is powerful. You're responsible for how you use what you hear on this podcast. And most of the time, common sense is all you need. But if you make extreme claims, and if you're writing copy for offers in highly regulated industries like health, finance, and business opportunity, you may want to get a legal review after you write and before you start using your copy. My larger clients do this all the time. So, Christian, welcome. Glad to have you here.
Thanks, guys. Really nice to be here. Finally, I've listened to your podcast for a couple of years at least now, so it's good to be sort of a guest on the show. Thank you.
So, many-time listener, first-time guest.
Absolutely, yeah, it's great. A surprise. And when you gave that introduction, I was thinking, who is this person that's on the show? Is that me?
Well, Ken McCarthy said that I give the best introductions in the business, and I would never say that, but I would gladly repeat what he said about 1,000 times. So tell us what you can, maybe insights, not the direct secrets, but your own conclusions, which are not classified, about from PsyOps, from working PsyOps in Iraq. What about actions people take in life when they're driven by a cause? Did you notice, or did you learn in your training or in your experience? And maybe I'm talking about PsyOps and the coalition forces. Maybe I'm talking about the insurgents, the jihadis. What did you learn about that?
One of the first things I learned is that if you pay people, they do whatever you want. Because literally, there was a lot of money floating around in the area, and a lot of the insurgents, it was so easy to recruit, because if one of your family members had been killed by an American soldier, then obviously you're going to want to kill the Americans. The other thing is, so the country was so poor, very war-stricken, that you're all basically put on a payroll by the insurgents. So you've basically got a job for them. You're being paid a decent number of dollars. Your grandmother, who's sick and probably would die, can get all the medication she wants. You get anything you want. So basically just the fact that, people can be bought like that, and they would then go on train people to be suicide bombers and things like that.
So that's interesting. So the whole notion that this was a completely ideological situation gets wiped out when dollars start to appear.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's quite surprised. You think that, it would be the opposite. And I'm sure in certain situations that's very true. But you show people money that have nothing, and they'll do exactly what you want very quickly.
Seems like a lot of copywriting, internet marketing is based indirectly on that same idea too. A guy shows up with a rented Ferrari in his driveway. You're showing him money, say, you can be like me, just give me some money, and people go into a trance almost.
Oh, absolutely. It's, I mean, I guess that's one kind of way, jumping ahead, why I kind of very interested in copywriting is kind of, my TV career, etc. But I kind of a very creative person, and my path has kind of led me that way, and it's very measurable as well. You kind of a lot of testing, because we did test a lot of the projects we did in Iraq.
Hmm.
It was very hard to kind of qualify what worked and what didn't, because if someone goes to do something and they don't come back because they've been abducted and killed, then you don't know what's happened. But yeah, the copywriting way is kind of, I've always been interested in kind of that kind of thing where it kind of, there's a payback on it as well.
I like that idea because human intelligence has always fascinated me, and yet it seems like it'd be so hard to make a science out of it. I mean, to some degree, you can. People are driven by certain motivations. Money sounds like, in your experience in Iraq, it came right to the top of the pyramid. But nevertheless, when you want to develop certainty about cause and effect, about the way things work, with humans, there are so many dimensions and so many variables. It's going to be hard. With copywriting, you test one headline against another, and this headline works better.
Absolutely. And I think having worked in TV and just having all that power at my hands, working for all these different TV stations, you do take for granted how much power you actually have. Like you were saying about copy is powerful. So you have to really think about, not just on the legal side, but it's a real responsibility what you're actually putting out there. So
well, if I can intrigue you back into the Iraq situation for a little bit, did you ever witness or actually conduct interrogations of enemy combatants, or of maybe people who weren't so hostile, but people who had good information? Because one thing I'm curious about that I've read. In fact, I read it from a guy who was an FBI hostage negotiator, Chris Voss, and I've heard this and seen this from other people who are really at the top of their game. That even though you see that, on like American police procedurals, you see these tough guy interviews, and I particularly like Agent Gibbs, where he comes into the room and he slams something down on the table. But in real life, it seems like a more nurturing and empathetic approach works better. Can you speak to that at all from your intelligence experience?
Well, I wasn't involved in any of the interrogations because we worked with the assets, as in the information itself, and controlled that across the medias. So it was kind of a grey black ops, where there was a situation where we created some assets that went out when they did raids, things were dropped, and they could track the IP addresses of whoever played them in the computer. And they appeared like all over the world. So that kind of
were these like CDs or?
CD-ROMs. We used to create them, and there was a code embedded in them through Real Player.
Uh-huh.
And it was it's quite clever, really. So you do a raid, smash the door, absolute chaos. Oh yeah, let's chuck all the CDs and stuff like that. They start to appear through different, one appears in an address in Baghdad, one in different countries. And that kind of builds up a kind of network of like, how did they get there, So it's quite, that was the kind of grey black ops that were used.
Man, that's interesting. I'm thinking about, back in the day, if you could have done that with a free CD that you sent out in direct marketing, what kind of market data could you have gotten that people never had? That's pretty interesting.
We didn't even realize that it's to do with Real Player, which I don't even know if you use anymore. I'm not sure.
I remember it. I have no idea how to use it. Yeah, that's way back, and that's a long time ago. That's it.
I was there 2007, 2008. Mm-hmm. But everything we did have to be signed off by the high-ranking colonels with us, and it went straight to Petraeus at the. Basically, like America ran Iraq, so everything had to be signed off, and anything I did was kind of debated, and every syllable and inflection, everything was kind of, and it was in Arabic, English to start with, then translated into Arabic, as if it was produced by some of it as Arabic television. We'd
Oh,
kind of
okay, so you were doing disinformation kind of stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. So there was part of it was kind of with billboards everywhere saying Al Qaeda in Iraq. You know, they could have killed your brother or sister. You know, your family died in them. So call this number or get in touch with us. TV shows going out. There was the Awakening Council, the tribal leaders. A lot of those got assassinated. So it was trying to turn the people of Iraq against Al Qaeda. And what was interesting when I was there, the message, you know, every war's got a kind of a message, like a brand. It was, I think, enduring Iraqi freedom. Then I was there and it became Operation Iraqi Freedom. So it's kind of like putting the Iraqis to help they have to help themselves in their own country. It's not just the Americans' coalition forces. But everything was signed off at the highest level.
Hopefully you can talk with fewer concerns about confidentiality with TV. I hope they didn't make you sign an NDA when you went to work for CNN or Sky News or anything.
No, not at all. I mean, what did happen is we got so used to seeing horrific images. So you go in at 4:00 in the morning, you get a Reuters or APTV feed coming in, and we'd have to collate, depending on what market, so different targeted markets going out across Europe, or mainly across Europe. And I worked on the ITV News, which is like one of the largest news stations over here. I worked on the 6:00 and the 10:00 news, which goes out. TV industry is very stressful. TV news, you have to work very, very quickly. You have to be very focused. See, that's why I want to apply to the copywriting side, because all my career has been, you can't hang around. You know, you have to pick up information just like that. You have to be heavily use your research and your sources, and things last minute can be chucked out the window and you've got to start again. So I guess, like, if you're writing copy and it's rubbish, you know, you go through so many versions of it.
Yeah, or if you get a knock on your door and say, "Hi, I'm from the Attorney General, and I want to ask you about this," you need to be able to rewrite pretty fast, right?
Yes, absolutely. But I mean, TV obviously was an open sort of field. There weren't any NDAs or anything like that. But it was amazing. You had so much power at your hands, you know, just putting different images in different segments.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you about images because I really get the sense, but you've been a lot closer to the flame. I really get the sense that people believe what they see a lot more than what they hear. Not always, but I mean, there are some people that whatever that person says is like God's honest truth, and they just swallow it uncritically. But when they're watching TV news, they see something. I remember, for example, 1989 in San Francisco earthquake. There were about 3 blocks in the city where houses had gone down and must have gotten down to the gas line, and there were these huge flames. And TV kept repeating that over and over and over and over again. And people would talk to me and they say, "Is the whole city on fire?" I said, "No, 3 blocks is on fire," but they keep showing it over and over again. That's what people believe. Could you talk about that?
Oh, absolutely. It's, you know, because I mean, I filmed as well as edited. So I've done the whole production process. I've interviewed people. So I know that, you know, camera angles is like, my girlfriend laughs if I take a shot of something. I have to make sure that everything is set up properly, because I'm so used to that from television, where you could take, as you're saying about, that's the only 3 blocks that were damaged, but you just show it again and again. That's why I laugh at rolling news where nothing happens and I have to keep on showing the same thing. But people think, holy shit, that's it. But yeah, I mean, you watch the different channels, obviously, like Fox News and all the CNN and all the different kind of American stations. They all have their different agenda. I think more so than over here in the UK. It's a bit more kind of polarized, I think, in the US.
Yeah, I think that's putting it mildly.
So a story like, especially like, you know, the riots and things that Black Lives Matter things have been happening, that just showing in completely different lights, but showing different pictures again and again and again. But if I heard something on the radio, it's like, if you're on a Facebook group, or when people they're kind of in an echo chamber of the same people saying the same stuff. You know, you don't really want to listen to someone's opinion that's different than yours, really. I mean, not most people don't.
No, I think that's changed. I think there used to be a lot of people who were willing to listen to other opinions because somehow it wasn't as personally dangerous. Somehow these days people actually feel it's dangerous. Maybe I'm making that up, but it certainly feels that way to me these days. It's weird.
I mean, the world's a bit crazy at the moment, isn't it? It's
It is. It's really crazy.
I know we joke about what's going to happen, like murder hornets coming soon or whatever, things like that for 2020.
Oh, murder hornets are so are so May 2020. You know,
that's
like
very true. Yes,
6 weeks old. Well, they still might be there. We just haven't heard about them. All right. So one thing that has fascinated me for years, and this is especially since I studied screenwriting, but I think it's just as true and probably a lot more important with TV news, is sequence. That sequence seems to, like, you know, you never get a second chance to make a first impression. You also never get a second chance to initially set the frame. Whatever frame you set is the one that most people are going to look at what follows, and what order the things follow in is going to have a tremendous impact on the meaning they take from it. Do you agree? What do you think about that?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I'm so used to doing it, I don't even think about it now. But kind of, you know, you get your establishing shot and things. The other interesting thing is, as far as sequence of shots, is that, you know, when you often we cut down an interview, say you've got a politician or someone talking about a particular point, and then you would put cutaway shots on the top to reinforce what they're saying, and they are really powerful because they're saying this is happening, this is my opinion, this is the world, it's like this, and you choose those pictures and they really kind of magnify what they're saying.
Have you thought at all about how this thing that you do without even thinking about it, because you've done it so often, you do it so well, the establishing shot, the sequencing, the other images, how that might apply both with the written word, but also with a VSL or a webinar?
Well, I mean, I've not sort of written any VSLs, but I've not shot any. But it's something, because I've come from the sort of the video production world, TV. That VSL is something I'm kind of looking at. So I haven't got any experience of doing that at the moment, but that's something I'm looking into. You know, why shouldn't I? If I come from that kind of background, I can do pretty well in that sort of an area.
Of course. I mean, you might be able to bring some new life, new ideas, new techniques to VSLs once you're up and running, once you're ready to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm always up for ideas. I'm an ideas person. I go out in nature, and you know, that's my kind of meditation. And I also listen to a lot of podcasts and stuff when I'm out, and so I get a lot of ideas from nature. But kind of, you know, I take things from everywhere. I'm interested in everything. And I think my whole career has been research. You can never do enough research and never enough checking all detail. Because as you know, from a technical point of view, there's so much to go wrong. And if it can go wrong, it does go wrong. So I've kind of not looked at VSLs at the moment.
Well, let me ask you another question. And this is a very self-interested question. As I recall, you live in a city right next to Oxford University, right? And there must be a lot of bucolic, beautiful woods and hiking areas, and that's where you go hiking. And so you're essentially listening to the Copywriters podcast in the shadow of Oxford University. What's that like?
It's good. I mean, I believe you haven't been to Oxford, have you, David? I don't think. And I did send you that picture I was reading your book at the Oxford Science Park,
That's
think
right.
last summer.
I remember that. Yeah.
I did try and get into town and take a picture, but I forgot. And but it is nice. Oxford's a great city. There's a lot. You know, you see news stories. There's always got someone from MIT. There'll be always someone from Oxford University or Cambridge. So there's always a lot happening, and it's quite good to live near a city with so much intellect as well, with as much beauty and history around it. There's always film crews, TV crews here all the time. It's a great place to be.
From your TV work, what do you think of this idea? A single powerful idea. This is sort of the law of one. It comes from somebody at Agora Financial, although you can find this in other fields from other people. A single powerful idea or theme, well illustrated, communicates and convinces a whole lot more than a complicated idea with a lot of data.
I think that's very true. It's too easy to, especially when I've worked on TV programs and things, you've got so much at your disposal. It's so easy to overcomplicate things really quickly, and you lose track of what the original idea is. I like ideas of the big idea, to kind of look down on something and go, what we were trying to achieve, we're just messing this up because, there's so much noise, especially you're making a TV show, you've got so much footage. You can easily, unless you've got a plan, like you've done your research, you've got a plan, to lose sort of focus of what you actually want to achieve. So yeah, this whole thing about the one big idea. I mean, there's that book. I'm still reading it. Was it the one idea? Was it? It's a classic marketing book.
One simple idea.
I've got it. Oh, the one thing. That's it. Yes.
The one thing. Yeah.
I'm still reading it. My one thing to do is to read the one thing, but I keep on getting distracted by other books.
That's easy to remember. The one thing is to read the one thing.
Yeah.
The repetition in that. It's right up there. Let's wrap this up with a final question, and then any pitch or invitation for people who want to reach out to you, or if you don't want to be talked to, that's fine too. With all of your skills and talents and experience, and I know that we've only scratched the surface, that some people have told you, or one person told you should go work for Britain's premier spy agency. Another person, you were ready to become a stockbroker, and then the 2007 crash happened. So you've got quite a wide experience. What made you want to do copywriting? I
think I kind of had a natural, because it's funny, when I grew up, I used to read a lot of how-to books, and I read The Lazy Man's Way to Riches, Road to Riches. And I loved that book. And I was always interested in sort of working for yourself in information marketing, ended up in TV and film industry, went to Iraq, tried to be a stockbroker, qualified, blah, blah, blah. The world fell apart. Worked for an Islamic TV station in London. Went through loads of life things that we all do. And I think I kind of had the aha moment. I'm now doing some work with a company, and I'm writing a lot of content for them, doing a lot of email marketing, selling products. And I think it's like a natural career. I haven't chosen to be where I'm be. Life is a crazy, crazy journey. But I've kind of ended up using my content creation skills, whether video, getting into writing. I did a lot of English literature. I read a lot of different things growing up. I went to, quite a decent school. And I like to learn a lot. So I think, especially going to different niches, I think I can pick up anything. And I like the research element. And apparently, was it John Carpenter says, if you do the research, the copy writes itself? Or was that you say? I can't remember. Someone said that.
I didn't say that, but I would almost agree with that.
You've kind of done the work then, haven't you? Rather than just sitting looking at
the most important work that a lot of people don't do. But it's good to know that you do it. Well, thank you so much. If people want to get in touch with you or find out more, do you have any resources or email? Or
I'll give my personal email out because I'm still working on my website. The company I kind of sort of rejigging the website is at aguilmarketing.co.uk. Aguil is a French thing. It's not like a flows off the tongue kind of, I'll remember that marketing company. Everyone said, why did he call it that? It's about a mountain, and I like mountains. Anyway, so I'll give my email address, which is Christian Dixon, Dixon @gmail.com. Anyone could hook up with me. I'd be interested in, because you never know. I've befriended so many people off your podcasts when they give out their information, because you said, okay, I'll contact you. So so my Gmail is the best one to get in touch with.
Yeah, so Christian Dixon @gmail.com. And
That's
Dixon
right,
is spelled Dixon. Nathan, any comments, questions?
No, I fear that if I ask the questions that I want to ask, this episode might be erased from history and put down the memory hole. So we'll have to save that for another time.
Well, it's a good thing that you listened to this episode because we don't know how long it's going to be up.
Well, you never know, do you? Things disappear. People disappear.
Happens, right?
Oh, no, I can't really tell you that, can I? No.
All right. If you did enjoy this episode and you want to get more, though, definitely head over to the Copywriters Podcast website, which is copywriterspodcast.com. And until next time, thank you, Christian, for coming on. Thank you, David. And we will catch you later.
Catch you later.
Cheers, guys. Thank you.